Hello and welcome to this edition of Weapons and Warfare. For Straight Arrow News, I'm your host, Ryan Robertson. And good news, guys, my voice is back. Huzzah! Just ahead in this week's episode, we explore the question of what's next for soon-to-be veterans that are separating from service, and why one group is making it their mission to provide an answer. And from jetpacks to a new jet-powered autonomous vehicle, why the maker of our weapon of the week has his eyes on the skies. But first, let's go ahead and get into some headlines you may have missed. The Pentagon announcing the temporary pier built to help get humanitarian aid into Gaza will have some serious protection in the form of Navy warships. Meeting with the press, Major General Pat Ryder was light on specifics, but did confirm a plan was in place.
On the pier, can you say whether any U.S. naval vessels are going to be providing security to the operation?
They will be.
Can you go into any detail?
I'm not going to go into the specifics for OPSEC reasons, but as you know, we do have naval vessels, destroyers in the region that can provide assistance.
And then slightly similarly, has any determination been made as to the USS Eisenhower and whether she'll be extending in CENTCOM?
Yeah, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not going to get into talking about future ship movements and deployments. So if we have updates, we'll certainly let you know.
General Ryder may not have been at liberty to share, but according to a report on military.com, a Navy official told them 2 Navy destroyers would be assigned to the mission. The pier is part of the Biden administration's $320 million effort to open a sea route to get humanitarian aid into Gaza. If you've been following the show for a while, you'll know we've covered the U.S. military's concerns about not only their budget, but our country's ability to keep pace with our near-peer adversaries in terms of industrial production. It's a concern that has the attention of the Deputy Commander of U.S. European Command, Lieutenant General Stephen Basham. During a recent live stream event for NATO, the general recognized current limitations, but added a shift is already starting to take place.
When we look at the defense industrial base from the West and like-minded nations, it might take a little bit longer for that defense industrial base, and you've heard a lot of discussion about how do we accelerate the Western defense industrial base. Make no mistake, it's picking up speed. It will continue to accelerate past the capability of Russia.
The general went on to say that as long as Russia is mired in their illegal invasion of Ukraine, the U.S. can use that time to get production where it needs to be. Here's some new math for you. When does B2 minus 1 equal 19? The answer: when the Air Force decides to scrap a damaged B-2 bomber and reduce its fleet to 19. That's the latest word out of a force structure report released by the Air Force in April. The decision comes less than 2 years after a B-2 at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri was forced to make an emergency landing following an in-flight malfunction and subsequent fire. That incident blocked the runway for a week and led to a 6-month grounding of all B-2s. With the B-21 Raider stealth bomber set to replace the B-2 and the B-1, the Air Force did the math and determined it was better to scrap the damaged jet than try and repair it. Sort of like my first car. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Serving you clarity through context, our mission at SAN is to deliver the news straight down the middle. We're different from mainstream media because we spotlight distorted headlines and show you how to do it too. Discover stories that right and left-leaning outlets are choosing not to cover by using our Media Mist tool. Download the SAN app and turn on notifications to have straight facts delivered right to your phone or tablet, and get straight facts anytime at SAN.com.
Every year, more than 200,000 men and women leave active duty military service and re-enter civilian life. That number, from the Government Accountability Office, is about equal to the populations of cities like Oxnard, California, Amarillo, Texas, or Tallahassee, Florida. While most make the move without issue, that's not true for everyone. Some, for a variety of factors, face challenges for which they may not be prepared. Fortunately for those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, there are people with the knowledge and resources to help.
I don't blame the military for not providing me with the perfect transition plan.
When Florent Groberg left the Army in 2015, it was not how he planned leaving a career he loved.
I never served with the idea of like, hey, you need to invest in me and transition me out. Now, I also never expected to leave the military because of injuries. So to me, it was my whole plan and roadmap was thrown way off, specifically because my career was shortened by many years.
Florent, or Flo as his friends call him, was in need of a new roadmap, a plan for starting his life's next chapter.
I needed to find what my next passion would be. And so for that, Warriors Ethos came in at the perfect time because I could relate to their people.
The idea is, if you raise your right hand and you take an oath to serve the country, that shouldn't be the best thing you ever do, right? You should be able to build upon what you do in the military and become successful in whatever you do after the military, whether it's 4 years later or 40 years later, right? We want people to go be successful outside of the military.
Started in 2011 by Jared Shepard, himself an Army veteran, Warriors Ethos has helped roughly 2,000 service members take those first steps out of uniform. For Groberg, his circumstances were not all that different from those that had leaned on Warriors Ethos before him, with one notable exception.
The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress March 3, 1863, has awarded in the name of Congress the Medal of Honor to Captain Florent A. Groberg, United States Army.
For his actions in trying to stop a suicide bomber while escorting a group of coalition and Afghan leaders in the Kunar province of Afghanistan, Captain Groberg received the Medal of Honor. He was also medically retired because of the injuries he suffered trying to save the lives of others. It all added up to a man left wondering what was next.
Receiving a Medal of Honor is probably the least expected thing you could ever have in your career. First of all, you don't serve for medals, and you sure as heck do not want to serve and be singled out and highlighted as anything other than a service member or a veteran. So when I received the medal and it highlighted me, it was a tough pill to swallow, specifically because 4 individuals didn't come home: Command Sergeant Major Griffin, Major Gray, Major Kennedy, and Reg Abdel Fattah. And also I had a whole other team that did some incredible heroic things as well, if you want to call it that, on that day. It's just a tough day.
Recognizing that kind of inner struggle is ingrained in the work of the people behind Warriors Ethos.
If you look at all the bad things you ever hear about veterans, homeless, unemployment, divorce, whatever else it happens to be, suicide, those are all failures in transition. Those are all, that veteran did not successfully get traction in whatever they were doing next, and thus they lost their way. So we kind of figured, we can put a dent in all of that by just helping guys and gals be more successful, be more prepared to get out of the military and go do whatever they're going to go do next.
Shepard's group recommends service members start making their transition plans well before actually separating. It's a process Groberg found particularly helpful.
Warriors Ethos pushed me in a way that wasn't off-putting. They knew that I had a need and a requirement. I just did not potentially know how to accurately express it at the time. They also understood what type of help I was seeking, and they put a plan together, and we adjusted the plan when things didn't work out the way I wanted it or the way they perceived it. In the end, we found a winning solution organically.
A 2019 study by Pew Research revealed almost half of veterans post 9/11 said readjusting to civilian life was at least somewhat difficult. That adds up to about 50,000 veterans every year needing what groups like Warriors Ethos does for service members.
One of the things that we help you do is we walk you through how to plan. That plan is multiple things. It includes your spouse, it includes your family, it's a financial plan, it's a business plan, it's a what do you want to do next plan, right? And all those things come into play.
For Groberg, the catalyst was a networking event, a dinner he admitted he had no interest in attending.
They pushed me to go to that dinner. I really wasn't interested at first because I have no association with this. I said, no, trust me, there's going to be some key people that you might want to meet. That led to giving me more self-confidence, and then we led to different careers later on with Boeing, Microsoft, and now on the private equity side.
For Shepard, the ideal outcome is one where Warrior's ethos is no longer needed.
The perfect world for me would be is that the military gets so good at transitioning its service members that I can turn this off. I would love that.
While the military is not there yet, Shepard acknowledges it is making improvements. But for now, his mission continues. If you know someone who could benefit by connecting with Warrior's ethos, or if you want to join their efforts, you can connect with them at the address on your screen, warriorsethos.org. Time now for our weapon of the week, and while you may not know the name Mayman Aerospace, you might very well know the man the company is named for. This is David Mayman, and this is him experiencing the world and the Statue of Liberty wearing a jetpack. Mayman's interest in vertical takeoff and landing technology spawned a new pursuit, one with national defense in mind. This is the Razor P100, an autonomous, high-speed vertical takeoff and landing air utility vehicle. For the acronym fans out there, it's an HSVTOL AUV. Equipped with Mayman's Skyfield AI-controlled navigation system, the goal is to deliver cost-friendly, multi-purpose vehicles to the DoD that will fit into battle plans for whatever potential conflicts in which America might become involved.
And what sets us apart from all the other drones in the industry right now is the fact that we use jet propulsion. And what that allows us to do is fly speeds up to Mach 0.75 or about 550 miles an hour, which what we're estimating right now. It allows us to carry a significant amount of weight.
Right now, that weight is rated at 100 pounds, with plans to build variants capable of carrying 500 to 1,000 pounds, making the Razor an obvious choice for logistics. But Mayman Aerospace's vision does not end there. They see a future with Razors built for the intelligence set, capable of surveillance and reconnaissance. There are also plans to make the Razor a force extender by making it an airborne munitions mule, basically carrying a bunch of ammo to troops in the field. Already under contract to the DoD for $3.25 million, Mladen Zadero, Mayman's government relations manager, told us there are eyes on the Razor as a candidate for the Replicator initiative as well.
And that's exactly why the government's so interested in this, with the ability to have such a highly capable platform at a very low cost. So if it gets shot down or for whatever reason crashes on the first mission, the way we're creating it's going to be simple to rebuild and resupply these units with this aircraft at a very reasonable price for the government.
Another of the Razor's main selling points is the ability to take off and land vertically, making it runway independent. In fact, Zadero says scenarios have been discussed about taking off from the bed of a moving truck, being dropped from another aircraft, or even launching from a platform at sea.
All opinions expressed in this segment are solely the opinions of the contributors.
Time to wind things down here on Weapons and Warfare. For my wrap this week, I'm going to keep the focus on Special Operations Forces because there was a recent anomaly in the global SOF community. An official said something about one of its missions. So in last week's episode, we heard from the man who runs USSOCOM, or Special Operations Command, General Brian Fenton. Well, he made some more headlines this past week when he told an Associated Press reporter the global SOF community was learning a lot from the British SOF units currently operating in Ukraine, like how 12-person detachments could face forces they aren't equipped to handle and may need to draw on the expertise of Air Force pilots, Navy ship drivers, or cryptologists while downrange. The Brits are not saying anything about the general's comments, nor should we expect them to. Usually it's sort of par for the course to not talk about soft missions and their deployments. Kind of blows up the secret and stealth part of the job. Now, I'm going to let you in on kind of the biggest secret that everyone knows but isn't really talking about. There are special operators from foreign countries in Ukraine. Remember Jack Teixeira, the airman who dumped a bunch of top-secret documents on an internet chat board? Well, in his efforts to look cool to his virtual friends, he leaked documents showing the UK had 50 operators in Ukraine. Latvia had 17, France 15, the US 14, and the Netherlands 1. Yeah, I don't know, maybe he's like that dude from Sisu or something. In any event, every Defense Department of said country, of course, denied the validity of the report, which again, no surprise, and the White House maintains there are no American boots on the ground in Ukraine. But the general's comments are definitely raising eyebrows, because Russia is always looking for ways to point the finger at NATO nations as justification for their actions, which at the moment includes a 3-day special military operation that's currently well into its 3rd year. Finton's comments are also confirmation NATO nations are that much closer to actually being a part of this war. France floated the idea a few times of sending in troops to help secure Ukraine's defensive lines, and even the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown, said at this point it appears inevitable NATO will have to send in some troops to help train Ukraine's beleaguered forces. You've heard me say on this show several times the U.S. needs to stand by its commitments and help Ukraine win the war. And that failure in Ukraine means U.S. troops will be put in danger. Well, that's why soft operators are in Ukraine, trying to make sure that doesn't happen. General Fenton might have said the quiet part out loud, but we all need to be listening. And of course, we are always here to listen to you as well. If you have a question for the show, or you want to share one of your comments or thoughts, you can do so below or by emailing us at weaponsandwarfare@san.com. For senior producer Brett Baker, video editor Brian Spencer, and graphics designer Dakota Patillo, I'm Ryan Robertson with Straight Arrow News, signing off.